Hi, my name is Doretha and I work for the Live Oak Public Library. Today we're going to be doing a recipe for the February spice of the month, which is turmeric. The recipe for today is Kurdish white beans. The ingredients for today's recipe are 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of cumin, 3 cups of navy beans with their liquid, 1 to 1 1/4 cups of water, 1 1/2 cups of canned crushed tomatoes, and 1 dried lime, which I didn't find in our local store, so I've substituted a fresh lime instead, and a teaspoon of salt or to taste. The recipe for today was taken from a book we have here in the library, and it's A Taste of Persia by Naomi, and I can't pronounce the last name, but it's Duguid. I've chosen to do the beans that were canned for the sake of time, but you can do the dried beans and make them according to directions and then measure them after that. But for this, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to just do the canned bean. So first of all, we're going to add I've got the oil added to my pot, and then I'm going to add the turmeric and cumin. And you put that in until it fizzes in the oil a little bit. Ooh, it's smelling good. Now we're going to add the beans. I'll clean all of those out of the can. These are navy beans, by the way. Okay. Pull the lid up on that. And I've got my heat on about medium right now. We may have to turn it up because we're going to want to bring this to a boil. All right, I'll stir the spices into the bean mixture. And then we're going to add the tomato, the crushed tomato, which is 1 1/2 cups. And just stir that together. And then because we have a small amount of juice still in the beans, I'm going to add just a cup of water. The recipe calls for 1 cup to 1.5 cups, but I think the cup will be plenty. I'm going to stir that. It calls for a small amount of salt. Now the canned beans are already salted, so you may want to do this to taste. It calls for a teaspoon. I think I'm going to cut back on that a little bit, and then we'll taste and adjust it accordingly. I think I'll just add a little bit. All right. The beans have come to a boil now, and I'm going to turn the temperature down to simmer them. The recipe calls for simmering partially covered for 30 minutes to get the flavor through. The last thing I forgot to add was, the recipe did call for dried lime, but because I couldn't get dried lime, I did fresh. So I'm just going to do a good squeeze of fresh lime juice in here before we put the cover on. I think that's good. All right. So now we're just waiting for that to cook for a little bit. So the beans have cooked, and now we're going to put them in the bowl and get ready to serve. And it's more like a bean soup, really. I guess you could eat it over rice, maybe, if you wanted to, but really, with the starch that's in the bean, that's probably good enough. And then I'm going to garnish the top with a little bit of parsley for color. There you go. Thank you for watching today, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you look out for more from the Swanee River Regional Library in the future.